So today we are going to talk about empathy. So how empathy can act as a strategic lever and how a leader can map their entire ecosystem. So there are three pillars what that we are going to cover today. So yesterday, day before yesterday, and last few days, we have been MBTI, then the other thinking, that TSIC that we did. Yes. We spoke about understanding our own self. Now we are moving from the self to the system. Okay? So it's imperative to have that strategic empathy. It's not only a soft skill. Second pillar is the stakeholder empathy matrix. You have to, when you are a leader, so with your team, what's important? To understand each of your stakeholder. What are their fears? What are their incentives? And what are the perceptions across the entire ecosystem? That's very important. Thirdly, if we talk about then mastering the unsaid. There are so many things which are said, but do we understand what is unsaid? Reading the room dynamics and maintaining the psychological safety, not for self, but for the entire group of people in the room. Now, we spoke about the self a lot, that we need to understand yourself, be self aware. So, once we are self aware, then we are able to understand the ecosystem also in a better way. And when we talk about empathy, empathy is not about agreeing with everyone or being nice. It's about taking the perspective, the cold analytical ability to map the hidden agendas. So if you are in a room as a CIO, your finance guy is there, he is there to approve the budgets. Your business team is there who have to implement that project. Maybe your clients are there. So each of that stakeholder will have different hidden agenda. Some would have, different finance guy would have limitations about finances. He may not be sure, he may not be invested in your project. He's not sure and not ready to release the budget. Then the other the clients, they may not be, sure about the efficiencies that you are projecting, you are able to really achieve that. So different people will have different fears, different incentives, and different emotional drivers. So when we talk about perspective taking as a CEO or a CXO, this is a strategic lever. Why it helps you? If you are able to understand what is the fear of this person, then what you will do, you will explain them and take them out of that zone of fear and help them to act with you as a collaborator. And once they become your collaborator, then your project will be in a spinning mode. You are able to take off those projects. If people are not, in sync with your projects, they are moving in different directions, then those projects do not take off. I just want to give all of you a moment to reflect. You may have done multiple projects and you may have seen multiple successes and multiple failures as well. So just try to reconnect with your own experience if you are able to recall today. That what are the projects, that got succeeded and what are the projects that failed. Along with it, it's important to merge corporate culture successfully and align the board naturally. Without the board, you can't succeed. So that is also required. So I just brought out this slide to make you understand differences between what is sympathy, what is agreement, and what is empathy. When we talk about sympathy, sympathy means I feel what you feel. This is kind of an emotional absorption. You take the other person's distress as your own. This is a dangerous thing in the leadership era. It clouds your judgment. So if the person has some fears, rather than you addressing their fears, you also take on those fears. Oh, ye ho sakta hai. So this is not a leadership tool. Agreement means you share their position. Sympathy is more about the feelings. कि मुझे ये डर लग रहा है तो आप भी कहो yes I am also feeling that fear. Agreement is alignment. What position they share, you also understand that. You also share the same thing. You hear that what someone wants and you give it to them. Leaders fear that empathy will lead here, that understanding someone's perspective means conceding to it. Means if you understood the perspective, you would try to understand something. Somebody is not muted, I think. Okay, good. So this is a core misconception. So किसी ने, if somebody brings some fear or some kind of a thing into this, कि this will not work. So when you go and present your idea, you have to be, firstly, you have to be 100% sure of that idea. Otherwise, people will throw off certain kind of balls and you will catch their balls and you will also sink in their energy. So this is very important. Then is the empathy. Empathy, what does it mean? So as a leader, you understand what is driving their fears, what is driving their incentives and their perception of the situation. And when you understand where they are coming from, then you take a perspective. Then that perspective taking, what we were talking of, that comes up. You know, do not agree with their position, but you provide them a logic, a solution to their fears. You address those. So if we look at, the empathy matrix. So if you are a leader, what you have to see? My stakeholders, what are their fears? What keeps them awake at 3 a.m.? What are their incentives? What drive their bonus or status? What are their perceptions? What do they think of our current direction? So if we look at, from the perspective of the board and the institutional investors, what are their fears? Their fears are fiduciary liability. What does this mean, fiduciary? It means financial as well as legal liabilities on the company. What are the activist interventions? Are there any union strikes or other things? What is the unexpected volatility? If we talk about the incentives, they are worried about what is the total shareholder return. What is the predictable earning per share? Then talking about the perception. So they are worried about, aggressive R&D spend. They want immediate cost control. So what you have to do, what is the strategic framing needed? Frame innovation as a risk mitigated, phased rollout with clear off ramps. So you have to mitigate their risk. If at all you are coming up with a new innovative strategy, you tell them that how this new product or a service is going to mitigate some risks? Is it going to improve the efficiency? Is it going to, reduce the timelines? Is it going to, at the end of the day, reduce the manpower? How it is going to help? And board members, when we talk about, they respond to risk language, not the vision language. Now we talk about the your peers. What about the CFO, COO, CIOs, or any other, CXO? What are their fears? That it may lead to some resource dilution. We may lose headcount in my team, that the budget may be cut down. If we talk about the incentives, meeting individual functional KPIs. What is the perception if we talk about? They have a guarded perception, defensive of their respective domain. So if you had IT, then you are guarding of your domain कि मेरी टीम में लोग कम ना हो जाए, my budget should not be slashed. What's the strategic framing? Here you have to focus on enterprise-wide efficiency and the mutual wins. So is it resonating with all of you? Yes, no, maybe? Hmm?
Yeah, I mean, I never had this perspective, so this is new.
Oh, wow, wonderful. Okay. So now we look at just reflect, you may not have had this perspective. When we talk about fears, the 3 a.m. concern is just a metaphor, 3 a.m. concern. But what is the fear as, leaders we have? You think about yourself. So if we look at mid-management, VPs, directors and all, so their fears are that, they are given unachievable targets and their teams may get disengaged. Some people leaving, some new coming, that integrating the people may be a concern. Incentives, if we look at operational stability, then the career progression about, at this stage is one of the concerns. And they want to avoid failures. And talking about perception of the direction. So they are somewhat, sometimes overwhelmed. If at all some team leaves or new people coming in, if there is a cultural mismatch, so people are overwhelmed. What is the strategic framing needed to take care of these people? You have to translate whatever is the vision of the company into explicit operational priorities. Remove that legacy friction. Okay. So, what about mastering the unsaid in high stakes, scenario? So, two things important. Firstly, when you are in a room, when you are a leader, so you have to read the room dynamics. Note who looks at whom when a controversial topic surfaces. So, if any of you attend board meetings or most of you attend staircodes and all, so just observe. Even we do that, all the time. That the person with whom we match in our, chemistry and something is going wrong, and then that there will be always some two people who will be just making an eye to eye contact if they are sitting in such a position and smiling, or some light cues you can catch up. And certain times you can note, certain topic comes, some people will become, withdrawal syndrome, crossed arm, they will lean back. And, some consensus is happening. 3, 4 people are readily, giving their consensus, but 1, 2 are completely withdrawing themselves. And then this is very important, psychological safety means complete silence after asking for dissent signals a low EQ environment. I'll talk about more when we go to the next slide. Intentionally lower the stakes to invite authentic challenge. So this I'll talk about more. So what is the power phrase in looking for dissent means? See, what happened normally when you are in such a scenarios, people will try to fire, things that why that thing will not work. So before finally say, you make your presentation and then you say, I am not looking for alignment yet. I need people, to play devil's advocate on this, to find out our biggest blind spots here. So when the room goes silent after a CXO asks for dissenting options, it reveals a psychological safety deficit. When you yourself invite, that you play devil's advocate, then people ego and everything, they it goes, the temperature drops because you yourself are provocating and asking people. Normally, what happens when we present some idea or something, what we want that everyone should, agree to my idea. And for that, sometimes we do the lightning also before we go for that presentation. So 3 4 people are my friends. I'll just collate with them and tell, भैया मेरे इस idea को okay करना है तुम्हें. And when you are there, that is a good practice. You have to do that, listening with people before that, steerco or a board meeting. But this is also a good idea. Whosoever are, not in sync with you, then if they bring in their ideas also, you can be thankful to them. Thanks for bringing out this idea. We'll work out on this and see how it works. And, then that Angrezi you can always throw out. So this is a power phrase. I would like, all of you to practice this phrase. You can make your own version of this. So this is a practice and reflection, applying whatever we have learned today, because this is very significant and very important. Whenever you are in this high stake meeting, look at what are your different kinds of stakeholders. Prior to going into the meeting, just look at what would be their fears, what are their incentives, what are their perceptions, and can you frame how you would take care of that before you enter into the meeting? And after you come back, share one insight, means just think about what that you did not plan. Now talking about reading rooms that we talked about. Note the unspoken tension. Note what is happening in the body language of the people. And when you use the power phrase that we used, use that power phrase to deliberately invite dissent. Observe what is shifting in the room. And what did you notice that you would have missed before? Just try to, address these two things in your next upcoming meetings. So what are our key takeaways? So empathy, when we talk about, it's about perspective taking. It's a cold analytical capability. It's not a soft skill. We already talked about it. When we talked about the empathy matrix, it maps the fears, incentives, perceptions, and strategic framing for every stakeholder group. And each stakeholder tier within the organization also, whether it's their board members, the C-suite peers, the mid-management, they all require a different communication frame. One thing, one PPT you prepare, you cannot address with that PPT to everyone. Because as the audience changes, you need to modulate what you are going to speak. And if you are able to read the unsaid in high stake rooms, which is a trainable executive competency, so that by practice, you will strengthen that muscle, I would say. And psychological safety is a leadership output. The CXOs must actively create the conditions for dissent. Very, very important. So that's it. Now